Yo, what's going on, everybody? Real Diverse here. I want to talk about a deck I've been running on here. I'll there's obviously going to be some gameplay video, but not in this video. And the gameplay will be in my Road to Rank video. And current update on Road to Rank, I am now Ultra Ball 1, so I'm trying to finish grinding out so we can hit so that we can finally hit the master rank before the end of the season. I haven't been putting too much time into this game, but I've been putting the most time into this game I have in quite a while. Anyways, Pocket's doing really great now with the new rank. But I just want to talk about this deck really quickly. This is a Rampardos deck I've been running currently on the ladder. It's winning me a fair bit of games. Even ideally, it's hard counters Dialga. I mean, not Dialga. It hard counters Arceus, and pretty much hard counters any EX like Darkrai, Giratina. Those decks come out, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But this is the deck. We run Cranidos and Sudowoodo with a Marshadow as our backup assailants here. And I'll just go through all the cards here. Okay. So this is my deck. The base of it was no, it's pretty much my deck at this point. But obviously Rampardos Sudowoodo isn't any crazy new combination or anything like that. But everything else like is pretty much mine. So I'll explain why. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching a video. It was like a deck building video, and I've been making these decks since the game dropped, so I'm pretty familiar with how these decks work. But it's still good to maybe get some here's some other things that you maybe didn't think about, or just some key things to keep you just some things to think about. And one of the things they said, or he was saying, and I wish I could remember, it was another YouTuber, but I can't think of his name at the moment. But he said that pretty much this is what stuck to me, is he said to keep what you want the deck to do consistently. Like, make sure you have the cards that allows it to do that. Like, so if you're wondering, like, should I need 2 or 1 of a copy or something, if that card allows you to do what you want the deck to do consecutively, then you want to probably run 2 of it, right? So if you need to make sure you're pulling your basic mons, you want to make sure you have 2 Pokeballs. If you want to make sure you're getting set up, or you're drawing, you have a good hand, you want to have the researches. If you're running like a heavy Venusaur deck, you want to make sure you're running 2 Ericas so that your Venusaur can keep staying alive, for example. So those are some quick examples. So I'll explain why I have certain cards on this deck. So we run an X speed here, and this is simply for 2 reasons. And this is the biggest reason, is to get Marshadow out of the active spot anytime he gets stuck in there. The second one, saying that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Marshadow sometimes leads to charge, and we don't always want to have to waste the energy on him to retreat him. But we will if we have to. But luckily, if we get the XP early game, we can use it and get him out of that active spot, pit a Sudowoodo, because we may draw Sudowoodo a little bit later. Things like that. We may have to use a Professor Research before we get Sudowoodo, or use a Pokeball first. Whatever the reason is, we didn't start with Sudowoodo, but we get it relatively quickly, whether that's research or Pokeball, or just pull into it. If we have the X speed, we're able to pull out our Marshadow and put Sudowoodo back in the active spot. It's very important that Sudowoodo is our wall, if that makes sense, for at least a little while. We need Sudowoodo to be our wall in this match, at least until Rampardos comes up, and if Rampardos just doesn't come up, hopefully Sudowoodo either can get its own knockout, or if it cannot get its own knockout, hopefully Sudowoodo can set up Marshadow to finish whatever it was beating on. So anyways, the XP is really important for getting Sudowoodo on the front line. But the second most important thing is important for withdrawing Cranidos, Rampardos, and Sudowoodo, because 9 out of 10 times they have one energy on them. They need 2 to retreat. So if we do ever want to retreat, we can do that really easy with the XP without having to waste another energy onto that Pokemon. So it sets us up a little bit as well in those rare instances where we can like sub out. And that's actually happened. That actually has won me a game before. I got Sabrina, and if I didn't have the X speed, I was not going to be able to retreat and attack in that same turn and win me the game. And I did have the X speed, and it made them concede the moment they seen it. Because if if I couldn't retreat, if I had to waste energy to retreat, then I wasn't going to be able to attack. So but I was able to attack because I retreat that turn. So the XP is really good there for helping you retreat without retreat and also attach energy in the same turn with anybody that's not Marshadow, right? So yes, awesome. And we run only one Pokeball because this is a fossil deck, so mainly the fossils are the main thing. And this Pokeball shows up more often than you would think. And funny enough, it shows up oftentimes too so late that like I already have all my basics too. So but yeah, this Pokeball does show up early, and it comes clutch quite a bit, and you're able to pull that extra Sudowoodo or whoever you need. So a really good item to have. So Pokeball is great. 2 fossil cores, 1 communication. Now we only run 1. We only really need 1. And again, to emphasize on that Pokeball, I don't know if I can emphasize enough. We really don't need more than 2 because this is a fossil deck, and it's no point in having, trying to pull both our Marshadow and Sudowoodo. We'll draw into them more than not, and more than not, we really don't ever really need all 3 of them. Honestly, we really just want 1 of each. One of the Marshalls, 1 of the Sudowoodos, and then we want to really start setting up our Cranidos or Rampardos. So that's the main thing. We don't really care too much about pulling those basics. We're gonna start with 1, and that's pretty much all that matters. And we cross our fingers that it's Sudowoodo. Communications. This is on the off chance that I have potentially 2 Rampardos in my hand and I need Cranidos, or I have like 2 Sudowoodos and I need to start evolving, or I need Rampardos. So this has come clutch quite often. We run just 1 of it. It can help all the time. You never know. It just happens to help. So again, communications is in here for just obvious reasons. Everyone knows kind of how it works. Just a great way to just kind of redraw, and hopefully you get the card you need or evolution you need. And the best way we have for now, and I want to make a comment here, is if they ever add in, there's a card that lets you in the actual TCG game, there's cards that let you pull out like evolution cards. And that, like, if there ever was a card that lets you select which evolution you need, like this would open up a lot of stage. So there's 2 things that could open up the stage 2 decks, and one of them is a rare candy. This is in the TCG Live. It lets you skip the middle evolution. So if you're running this in the deck, it lets you skip your second evolution. Now again, this is strong for a few reasons, because one, it saves you a turn. That's the biggest thing. It saves you a turn, and it also saves you another card in your deck. So you technically wouldn't have to run you technically wouldn't have to run your stage 1s. But on top of that, the only reason that card, a rare candy, would be that great in this turn meta is if they added some way to also find that card as well. So we don't have any way to fish out items either in this game. So it's still very much a lot of things they could add later on that would really change like the whole. There's certain cards that like we're like 2-3 cards away from a whole different game, where even decks like Blastoise can come back around and be really dominant as well. Well, probably not Blastoise, but Venusaur, something like that, right? So but anyways, also it makes it a lot easier to like not only like I said, it saves you a turn. So think of having a superior of something like that, a superior setup in like your second turn. Like you went first and then you go second and you have a superior setup already. Like, could you imagine how strong that would be in most decks? So pretty strong to have something like that. So yes, something like Celebi would be instantly back on top. Or even imagine Gardevoir, having Gardevoir up on their second turn, like you're automatic. Yeah, Mewtwo will be back up top, right? So certain cards, like we're 1 or 2 cards away from just having a all-out fest on here. So back to my actual deck here. Also, I want to take a step back and go back to the X speed for a minute. The I would not be running this X speed and is that I think isn't there a preview version? Hold on. Isn't there a way to like kind of like yeah, okay, I forgot there. Here I can view all of the cards at once, so this makes it a lot easier. I forget about this, but this is a I don't know if this is a new feature or not, but this is great for showing you guys the deck list. So we run one X speed. Here's something else I want to note too. So let's just say if I just only benefited from that Marshadow, it wouldn't be worth running the X speed. It would probably be worth just the extra turn, probably more often than not. But because there is more use to the X speed than just that Marshadow situation, which that is a very good like reason, because we do want to make sure, especially those turns we go second and Marshadow somehow gets stuck in that active spot and we can get them out and get started going wing a pseudo widow. That's really powerful too. But we can sacrifice that extra turn more often than not, I would say. But because the X speed actually benefits us in more ways than one, it is relevant to have it here. So I just wanted to kind of throw that back out there too about that. I feel like I didn't brush over that. But okay, so again, communication. So jumping down, obviously fossils. Jumping down to our tool card. So the giant cape is for certain situations with Rampardos. Rampardos is in pseudo wudo. It comes in handy often, mainly like with either one of them, like whether we need maybe some extra, we need pseudo widow to take an extra turn or an extra hit, which that has happened. Or we need Rampardos to potentially come in and take an extra hit. Now Rampardos is interesting because he does do that 50 damage to himself if he gets a knockout. Most of the time he comes in to clean up, and hopefully if you can get him set up early enough, beauty of this deck as well is that he can like pretty much within 3 turns you can be swinging for 130, which is pretty consistently, which is really good. So that a lot of times in 3 turns they can't set up more than 1 Pokemon. So a lot of times they cannot set up no more than 1 Pokemon, and if you come in, you get a knockout, they usually aren't going to have a way to counter that. This deck has, I think it is well built to kind of be sufficient, whether we get a slow start or whether our opponent is quick or slow. Either way, I think this deck can respond either way. Excuse me. So anyways, giant cape allows us to keep Sudowoodo in longer and also Rampardos in longer. Either way, it goes here. So it really good situation for us if he can survive and if he has to potentially survive an attack that's over the average swinging range, I think, is like 160. I want to say it's like 160. Most cards are swinging for like around 160 with red. Now again, there's no way for anyone to naturally swing 160 at us. But this does help us survive Mewtwo. Any Mewtwo encounter. So again, Giant Cape it's just useful at times. You just never know when that extra 20 can really help you. It's almost like a kind of like a potion, but it's better than a potion because it guarantees that you have that extra 20 like going into their turn. So it's really good. Rocky Helmet, also another card that can help with the numbers, especially Sudowoodo. A lot of times if you're not attacking an EX, Sudowoodo's only doing 20. But imagine doing that early game. You're swinging for 20, and then they have to attack you. Then they take a 20. Then you swing again. You just did 60. 60 is enough, and within 2 turns, 60 is enough to knock out almost any little basic mon, stage, basic Pokemon like a Magnezone, Magnemite, anything like that. Roll something, just anything like that is good enough to knock out anything that like they want to attack early. And most of the time, they're already going to attack. They're going to attack even if they see the Rocky Helmet because they think, it's nothing. It just feels bad not to attack. So people just attack anyway. It's so funny. Because people did that with my Heatran deck, and Heatran does an extra 40 damage if he has damage on him. But people, regardless, they're going to swing. So it's funny. So yeah, Rocky Helmet comes in handy really nicely. Also, it has helped me win some ties before. And potentially too, if you don't have red, it can that extra 20 can help your Rampardos. Like if your pseudo is gonna get knocked out, it can help your Rampardos, be in range to Oko anything that comes in. Especially like, let's say like a Giratina with like a giant cape. So Giratina giant cape gets hits with the Rocky Helmet. If I come in with Rampardos plus red, it doesn't matter. It's still knocked out. So that Rocky Helmet is really for extra insurance for those rare occasions where there are 170, and that 170 is really tricky for Rampardos to hit. Because we only at max hit 150. So. Right, Professor Research is pretty obvious. Now, here's something interesting. We run Giovanni and red. So notice our last four cards. A lot of times you will see either two of each. Like you either see two Giovannis or two reds, two Cyruses or two Sabrinas. You won't usually see because these cards do pretty much similar functions. Just in a different sense, right? Both basically Sabrina and Giovanni is gonna make something from the bench come back up, whether it's your choosing or not. And the condition, it has to be right. So, and for Giovanni in red, Giovanni swinging for 10 on anything, so an extra 10 damage on anything. Red is swinging for 20 damage on EXs. The reason we run Giovanni is strictly for the situation of the current meta, which is a hefty amount of Meowscaradas. Meowscarada is a Pokemon that is 140 max HP. Because of that, it takes Rampardos 2 attacks to knock out a fully healthy Meowscarada. Because that feels so bad to swing into twice, if it is fully healthy, we put Giovanni in his deck to help cover that extra that to make sure we can knock out Meowscarada, a fully healthy Meowscarada. That's the only reason Giovanni is in his deck, is because it's so common, and I don't like to run into that situation where I have to swing twice into Meowscarada and gives them an extra turn to put energy on other things, and gives that Meowscarada another turn to do 60 on something, whether that's probably going to be Rampardos. So it's really good for us not to fall into that. So it's good to get that knockout and not have to worry about that extra 60 damage, and also gives them one less turn to put energy on something. So that's the whole reason we run Giovanni instead of 2 reds, because we were initially running 2 reds until I consistently run Meowscarada decks, and I didn't want to keep having to waste 2 turns. Now, obviously, if it has damage coming into it, then it's a one-shot either way. Giovanni also isn't that bad either, because a lot of times we don't actually need the extra 20 damage for a lot of times. We just need we really a lot of times need only 140 for Rampardos. For whatever reason, it feels like more often now we just only need 140. Red is really good, obviously, into not like Arceus with a giant cape. Red helps us knock out Darkrai. Again, there's another. That's the 140 I was thinking about. Darkrai is 140. So without a giant cape, we're swinging on Darkrai for with just Giovanni or red, we knock out Darkrai. So that's another important marker. Giratina's the bigger one that we do need red for Giratina, but that's fine. And oftentimes too with the Rocky Helmet, it sometimes also helps if they get hit with a Rocky Helmet. But like the previous turn, then all we need is Giovanni as well. So Giovanni is it's still useful in more situations than not, and just really helps us with that curve and any other potential situation where we need that extra 10 rather than that situational EX 20 with red. And Sabrina, there's times where we just want to just force something else in front. I've noticed in the top meta, it does help to have Sabrina. It just random times. You never know when like you can sub in something that just is not going to be able to retreat anytime soon, and it can give you an extra 2 to 3 turns, of whatever. So a Sabrina can be very clutch in a various amount of situations. That's why we run it over just Giovanni, and I mean Cyrus. And obviously Cyrus comes in clutch when they retreat something that we want to hit. So oftentimes, so let's say they start the match with like a Arceus. We can Pseudo Widow can two-shot Arceus. So let's say they we hit Arceus and then they leaf out to preserve their Arceus. We can bring Arceus back out and bam, hit it again, and that Arceus is gone. They just lost 2 points in like the first 2 rounds of the match. So that situation comes up, or we just want to put a lot of pressure on another EX or something like that. So Cyrus just really clutch all around, and to be able to bring something back up that that they were trying to hide. So again, and then Red, for obvious reasons, he helps our Rampardos get over a ton of the curves here, and gets to knock out on pretty much everything in the game. Mewtwo that doesn't have a giant cape. And then obviously there's some decks that we are kind of scared of that we don't see often, and that's any deck that's probably running a Mon that has over 170 HP, like a Charizard, a Blastoise, Machop, or something like that. Anything like that is gonna be scary for us, but that is just not the meta right now. But if it was, it's pretty tough to overcome those decks. But Rampardos, again, he's swinging for 130 with just 1 energy, and he also is a 150. So he is, like, it's not a lot of things that's gonna one-shot him either. So he's swinging for 260 in 2 turns. So it's anything's gonna go down after that. After 2 Rampardos attacks, everything's gonna go down. Even a Venusaur that gets double potioned in an Erica, and for let's just say they throw in something else. I don't think even then Venusaur doesn't survive to a Rampardos, and definitely not with a red. So, but anyways, that's all I want to say about this deck. Really good deck. Comes clutch. I think it handles pretty much all situations you will see. But obviously, if you don't get the right draws and stuff, then it's obviously every deck sucks if you don't get the right hand. But with the right hand, this deck I think pretty much beats just about everything, and it covers almost every situation in the game. So, anyways, hope you guys did enjoy this, man. Thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe if you want to use the deck. Real Dog Racing, man. We're out. Peace.